All right, how's it going? I'm going to get started any minute now, but I just want to rearrange my chat window, make sure it's looking nice and good for this because I love what I've heard about this video. I am absolutely going to be reacting like a madman on this one. So I'm going to get this chat in just the right spot. What am I doing? I should, yeah, let's do this. PJ, how is it going? I feel incredibly guilty about our Rust team, and that's life, isn't it? Like, a game doesn't need to be a job, but I kind of feel like I'm letting people down. So, you know, we'll game again together someday. Let's make sure to game again together someday. But there's a lot of important shit happening right now, and I gotta talk about it. This is one of those important things. Because apparently this is a really good take. Or maybe he's just, you know, reaching across the aisle and pandering to the people, but we're going to react to it. Yeah. And why the hell is my chat not showing up? Oh, it's at the very bottom. So let's do this. Oh, there it is. I changed which downstream key my chat's in. There we go. How's that for professionalism? Happy Monday, Chase Mitchell. I am jazzed about this video. Let's get right into it. I did find the part where he started talking about electricity and whoever this is what he's talking about. So here we go.
So now there are some major problems going on in Texas, though, that you can absolutely blame the governor for. For example, Texas has and as well as the Texas legislature, they have a partly deregulated or mostly deregulated electricity market.
Let me know if the music's too high.
Power companies, this is according to the New York Times, with incentives to install reserve capacity to deal with possible emergencies. This made the power cheaper in normal times, which, hey, it's great. Cheaper power, who doesn't like that, right? But also left the system vulnerable to these wild swings when you have emergencies. So, you know, I feel like having more federal regulations, the federal regulations that they made their own power grid to get away from would have actually stopped some of these insane price spikes. You've seen the story about Griddy, right?
Well, I've seen, yeah, well, I've heard about like electricity being charged like $1,000 per kilowatt hour or something like that. Like,
it's worse.
So far, so good.
It's worse. Before the storm, it was about 20 kilowatts per hour. It went over $9,000. It's over 9,000, Vaush.
At least that'll delight some of the weeps in the state. I mean, they've got that going for them. But yeah, well, this is what happens when you deregulate, you know? One of the problem is that riding high 10 years and then having one crash can be all it take to end a person's life. Even if it incurs some higher costs in the long run, there's a benefit to stability. It's basically like the civic infrastructure equivalent of having health insurance, you know? You pay out your premium, sure, but if you ever need to go to the hospital, it's not going to bankrupt you, ideally.
Right. And it's not going to leave millions of people without heat, water, and the ability to, of course, cook food, which, you know, is also, you kind of need food to survive.
Okay, they're kind of glossing over one thing here in that it's not just deregulated, but this is also like the thing that's going on with Gridley is what the green plan for energy is. That's the conservation of energy. That's, the liberalized market, not just deregulated, but liberalized and neoliberal solution to climate. And so when Gridley set this up, they're like, yeah, you're going to pay for the true cost of electricity, which means in the middle of the day when solar energy is super off the charts, you're going to pay almost nothing. You're going to get paid to use electricity in the middle of the day. Great. If you're a Bitcoin miner, you're going to crank that thing, your rig up in the middle of the day. You're going to mine some Bitcoin and you're going to get paid for it, right? Awesome. And then when 4 o'clock comes around, you're going to shut down that miner. You're going to, not have to worry about it. You're not going to mine your effing Dogecoin at 4 or 5 o'clock when the price goes through the roof. So, I mean, I don't know if they actually have a negative price at some point in the day, but this is a distinct possibility because the idea with Gridley was you're paying the true price of energy. That's what a liberalized market and a transparent utility operator is. So if on the usual operations, though, is that utility is going to use their giant financing capacity in order to backfill the price of delivering and backfill the costs of incurred by acquiring that energy. And so they have this big, it's like a trust fund calculus. The price of energy goes up, they make a profit. The price of energy goes down, they still make a profit. And you as the consumer are paying a little more on average than your utility does, where Gridley's deal was, yeah, you just get whatever it is and you pay us a set fee to run the thing or whatever subsidies or incentives that the government gives them to run. That's how they keep their business going. Great. Works wonderful until the price of electricity hits $10,000 a megawatt hour. Then you're fucked. I usually self-censor on swearing because I'm a dad and a kid. But you're fucked. That's what's going on here. So let's get back into it.
Here, it's good to have. It's good to have. So now, they after all this happened, of course, you've also probably seen the reports of numerous right-wing individuals blaming this entire thing on alternative energy, on wind power, right?
It'll
on
work
wind
too.
turbines. Oh yeah, absolutely. But it's important to point out that Texas's energy mix is 90% traditional thermal energy sources. You got oil and natural gas. And so it's only about 7% wind power, 3% mix of solar, geothermal, and other energy sources. And so, I mean, it's pretty clear that there was a big failure in the traditional energy sources as well. Yes, there were wind turbines that froze over and seized up and wouldn't work and wouldn't generate. But they also had problems with gas plants.
Well, it all froze over. Because whether it's a wind turbine or a natural gas plant, these institutions need to be appropriately weatherproofed, and they didn't. I think back in 2011, in fact, they explicitly rejected the opportunity to weatherize these stations in a way that could accommodate potential changes resulting from climate change.
Right, and they chose not to do it in order to keep things cheap for them, cheap for the companies, and cheap for the consumers as well, because they have an incredibly competitive energy market in Texas. But all of that
read liberalized energy market. All of the risk, or a lot more of the risk, is rolling downstream to the consumer. If your utility, if your providers aren't guaranteeing some supply, you're going to eat it. That's what's going on.
Be damned, right? Fox News. So personalities and guests on Fox News and Fox Business blamed the Green New Deal, green energy, and all that stuff over 128 times since Monday. 128 times, dude.
Yeah,
mostly on
Green
opinion
New Deal
shows.
was in effect. That's crazy. I wish we lived in the world that conservatives thought we lived in. That would be That would be unbelievable. Anytime anything bad happens, it's because of the failures of socialism. Well, I would love to be living with the failures of socialism. Please, God, subject me to those failures. I would love to see, you know, how far we can go. But of course, no. It's the same genre as when they remember back during the BLM protests, and there'd be like a burned building or some rubble. They'd take a picture of this and they'd say, "This is Biden's America," while Trump was president. That's the vibe I get.
It's true. It's true. And so, you know, they do all this, they do all this blame, and it turns out that no, you actually had straight news shows on Fox News, so-called straight news shows, blaming the left 48 times versus the opinion shows, which of course are Hannity, Ingram, all that, 80 times.
It'll work. It'll work. We laugh. Okay, you can laugh if you want.
It's
but
true.
It'll work. That's the thing. It doesn't matter. They can say whatever the hell they want. It does not matter. We can mock it as much as we want. We can deconstruct these arguments as much as we want. But their bald-facedness is the point. If they were trying to, like, nuance their way out of an argument, like, actually, there was a Texan Democrat governor in 1967, and he was the one who did X. Like, if they were trying to go that direction, then it would be pretty easy to knock them down. But if they just come out and say, yeah, it was socialism and the Green New Deal, and all the wind froze, the wind stopped blowing, and it is the Green New Deal. And if they just go with that, that's it. It's fine. They win.
Yeah. Look, there are reports of, like, people that believe that putting up solar panels would suck the energy out of the sun. I mean, this is okay. So
that's got to be bad faith. Who thinks that?
Okay, not only was it super, like,
okay, yeah. So no, solar panels do not suck the energy out of the sun. They divert the energy coming from the sun from reaching the soil. So in some cases great, in some cases bad. Like, you know, we could be producing trees with that energy. It takes a lot there's a conversion loss going back and forth every time. So, you know, it's what you use the land for. And largely solar panels are a net positive. You know, it's such a horseshit argument unless you really understand what they're talking about. So I would love to see an example of someone making this argument so that I can laugh at them and correct them on it. But then I could also, like, meet in the middle, and I could say, yeah, you know, this is a choice. It's a choice of acreage that we're devoting to an energy source that is like 15% available and maybe 30% effective in terms of energy conversion. So this is a bit of just trash talking for no good reason at all. You're not building bridges here. Like I know you're right. And so, yeah, it is a lot of shitting on the right. And that's, you know, I will chuckle along with that. It is funny.
Classless for a lot of,
if it's true,
Twitter to go after, like, people that are freezing in Texas is like some sort of gotcha, like, take that, Texas. What did the people in Texas do? Yes, of course, they voted for shitty politicians that abandoned them at the first chance of trouble. Like, of course, Ted Cruz, who flew to Cancun while everybody's freezing. But, like, you know, this is not a good thing to do, to sit there and laugh at them. What we need is, you know, empathy. What we need is to actually take care of people. Yes, even if they vote against, like, socialism, they believe all these crazy things, you shouldn't abandon them. We're supposed to be part of the United States. You know, we're not supposed to leave anybody hanging.
It's dumb for, like, a million reasons. First of all, the people disproportionately affected by this are the poor. Poor people are disproportionately Democrats. Also disproportionately POC, who are also disproportionately Democrats. Additionally, Republicans tend to be the greatest victims of Republican policies, okay? All the people who live in fucking Appalachia or Appalachia, or, you know, poor rural communities whose small towns are dying because of very obviously bad economic decisions being made by the Republicans they vote in, they're the ones who are the victims of this first and foremost. Well, we're all
generally true. I mean, I just gotta, you know, this is why he's a good good commentator, is he is delivering that message over and over again. I would hire him to speak for me if I was running for office.
We all are, but them too. If you actually want, I will never learn how to pronounce Appalachian properly. Ever. Chat, you can correct me as much as you want. I refuse to learn.
Appalachia.
Anyway, all that aside, I mean, even if you leave aside the empathy angle, the fact remains that if you're a Republican in Texas and you're freezing to death, and all you see on Twitter is liberals mocking you for your stupidity, because Texan Republicans weren't voting for Republicans because of the fucking energy grid. I'd be willing to bet most Texans don't even know, or didn't even know, that they were on a separate grid, because that decision was made nearly a century ago. This probably is not a day-to-day thing that they talk about or vote based on. So they're being mocked for a decision they had no hand in, based on policies they didn't know existed. Where are they going to go after this? You think you're going to make them libs by mocking them this way? No, they're going to double down. They're going to say, fuck it, I was nearly dead last year, and these fucking liberals on Twitter were just making fun of me for it. It's just terrible. It's bad optics, it's bad politics, it's bad morally, it's everything.
True.
Yeah, I can't disagree with any of that. That's absolutely correct.
I'm going to slow it back down when we get to nuclear.
Voters vote based on guns, abortion, and immigration. Okay, they're not voting. They're not voting based on Texan power grid independence.
Also, transgender bathrooms.
And transgender bathrooms.
On that too.
That's a big one.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Austin, Texas.
So, let's go on to.
True story. True story. Austin, Texas, in 2013, went to gender-neutral bathrooms like all over the place. Or 2013 or 2012, and I was like, "This is cool. We should have more of this." And then it's like it took off. So, trans rights, folks.
The next one is pretty related. We're gonna go to Ben Shapiro. Fun times, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Senator Ted Cruz was recently busted going on vacation to Cancun.
Fuck this topic.
Residents in the state struggled without power, heat, and even food as a result, of course, a devastating winter storm and a deregulated power grid that wasn't even prepared for it. So now pictures of Flying Ted, that's what I like to call him, blew up over social media, caused him to end his trip early, and he also threw his kids under the bus, which is an interesting thing to do. But then again, for somebody who has actually thrown his wife under the bus as well, and Trump and his father under the bus too, to kiss Donald Trump's boots, I'm not exactly surprised. But the backlash that Cruz received was picked up by conservatives as an example of cancel culture. Yes, good old cancel culture. And so now Ben Shapiro, he's going to react to this. He's going to talk about this on a show. Let's take a look. Well, let's be real about this for just 1 second. This is one of the stupidest aspects of our politics.
Oh, God.
Like, what exactly? It's not a real-time crisis that Ted Cruz, the senator from Texas, can do anything about. Because the senator from Texas is, in fact, in the United States Senate. He's a federal officer, right? He's a federal elected official. This is up to the mayor of Houston and, like, the governor of Texas and all the people who are state-level officials. And also, I just wonder, what is Ted Cruz, like, did they expect Ted to go there with, like, a blowtorch and start defrosting all of the pipelines? He can do a better work, doesn't he? He can tweet out a bunch of links to people who are helping out. I'm sure Ted's already done that. But the notion that the gravest of all sins is that you took your family to a place that is not Texas, in the middle of a bad situation in Texas. My favorite part of this is all the journalists in their heated departments in New York are tweeting angrily about all this. I can't believe Ted Cruz would do something like that. Oh, yeah. I see you there on the ground handing out food. Really, well done there. Really well done.
Very high IQ
so,
arguments.
Indeed. So look, before I hand it off to you, for me, I think that the anger against Cruz, and I think that's justified anger, right, is that he was able to leave Texas. He had the means to do it, right? So he had the means to take his family someplace warm, okay, when they lost power, while many Texans did not have the ability to do so. And they were, a lot of people ended up having to try to stay warm by using their cars, which of course can be dangerous. In fact, in one night, Houston actually reported about 300 different cases of carbon monoxide poisoning, several of which ended up being fatal. And so, yeah, I mean, this is the level of desperation that's been happening in Texas. And so with Cruz fleeing the state, essentially.
Whoa, I like that.
This is several of which ended up Houston having the ability to do so. And Cruz, and I think that's justified anger, right? Is that he was able to leave Texas. He had the means to do it, right? So he had the means to take his family someplace warm, okay, when they lost power, while many Texans did not have the ability to do so. And they were, a lot of people ended up having to try to stay warm by using their cars, which of course can be dangerous. In fact, in one night, Houston actually reported about 300 different cases of carbon monoxide poisoning, several of which ended up being fatal. And so here is what it comes down to. For the developing world, yeah, I'm gonna for the developing world, it comes down to, oh shit, I've got too many cameras on. What? I gotta fix this. Okay. So what this comes down to, what they're talking about here is, yeah, Katrina like fallout. Absolutely right, base. Oh, and I'm missing my middle. There's my middle. Okay. When it comes down to it, it is the need for energy. It is like you are going to die, so you run your gas range on high. Extremely dangerous, but that's the choice you make because you don't want to die. Same thing if you're in a hut in South America and you need a fuel source. You need to eat, you need to cook. So you literally take some cow shit and dry it out and you burn that.
and you die at 50 or 60 from emphysema because, or maybe 70 if you're lucky, because that affects your health very, very specifically. And that is what like people like Michael Schellenberger will quote as the deadly effect of biomass, of using wood or dung as your primary fuel source. That kills a lot of people a year. No, Nolan, I don't recommend breathing the burning biomass. The particulate matter will kill you someday. Oh, there we go. Sorry. Pro streamer moment.
So yeah, I mean, this is the level of desperation that has been happening in Texas. And so with Cruz fleeing the state essentially to go to someplace warm, it sends a pretty bad message. Like when the going gets tough, Ted Cruz and the rest of the affluent, Texans or affluent Americans, they leave. You're on your own, sir.
Well, for me, the real harm here, I think, well, I don't necessarily know if it's harm. This is really just a politics game. Would Ted Cruz have been on the ground, like, feeding soup to the homeless if he hadn't gone to Cancun? Probably not. I think the real reason why this is important
more shit talk
demonstrates the utter fucking
pass
Ted Cruz has for his population. No sane person, no public.
Yeah, base. You should sell your house that's near the coal plant because that stuff's almost as bad.
Multiple people dying is an appropriate time to take a vacation out of the country. No, but that's unfathomable to me. That's like unbelievable. Like I don't even know. I'm trying to find like an apt comparison. It's honestly like a joke. Like it's an Onion article.
It's like George Bush Jr. doing flyovers during Katrina. Like we remember that. We remember Kanye saying George Bush doesn't care about black people, right?
It's contempt, or at the very least, it's negligence.
Yeah, and let me just kind of add on to that point here. Speaking of like staying in solidarity, remember Rick Perry had come out and here's what he said. He said Texans would be without electricity for longer than 3 days to keep the federal government out of their business. Try not to let whatever the crisis of the day is to take your eye off having a resilient grid. They keep using that word resilient. That keeps America safe personally, economically, and strategically. So saying basically you should be happy to stay in those cold, dangerous conditions to fight socialism, essentially.
Yeah, the 2008 financial crisis, you can see it on Fox News, people coming out. The American people are proud of a robust and unregulated Wall Street, and the fine people of this country would never deign to regulate. They believe that catastrophic economic collapses are a worthwhile price to pay if it means that that's the gist we're getting right now. Like, this doesn't mean shit to anyone. Even the most ardent conservatives in Texas, I doubt if I press them, they give a fuck about energy independence for Texas. I sincerely doubt they care. This is it's kind of gaslighting is what it is, right? It's just trying to convince people that they shouldn't care about their state abandoning them, their government not appropriately regulating industry, about people being...
Get it? gaslighting.
Well, you don't like the war? Well, tough. This isn't actually a war. This is a conceptual battle for the very concept of American freedom.
Yeah, I love the use of the word gaslighting right here, especially when we're talking about the effects of natural gas failing.
There it is.
Really.
Yeah, I'd say so. Well, I mean, he literally described the grid as well.
He went with the obvious joke too. Good job.
and another thing that bothers me: energy independence. Like there is no such thing as energy independence, really. At least not on when it comes to the oil gas market. You know what I'm saying? It gets all traded internationally, and so Texas. Oil that comes out of Texas,
good recovery.
Canada, all gets traded on the world market anyway. There's no such thing.
Good recovery.
Right, it's regulatory independence, if anything, but I don't know how much that's worth.
Well, it's not worth anything. I mean, as the Texans who are freezing right now, how much it's worth. I think all they care about is, staying warm and getting clean water. Which, by the way, there are water boil advisories going on right now. Well, how are you going to boil your water if you don't have any energy?
That thing they did in Karate Kid where you rub your hands together real fast so the palms get warm?
Right.
How is the city? How is your municipality going to boil water? Yeah, it's all the same thing. Oh, I see my... There we go. I can stop shouting in the mic. Hopefully I'm a little louder now. Check your levels. Fair warning. I might get a little... No, that's pretty good.
Yeah, do that, touch the bottom of the pot, do that, touch the bottom of the pot. Eventually, slowly but surely. You could also induce a vacuum, after all, because water wants to boil at any temperature. It's just the pressure of the atmosphere that keeps it in a liquid state. So if you could create a vacuum, then that would also...
Science, friends.
Yeah.
That's what it's about. Science, bitch.
That's the hard part.
Right. You can, and at the end of that, wax on, wax off, right? For making that Karate Kid reference?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, wasn't that the heated technique, right? I remember the end of Karate Kid. He did the hand spinny thing, and then he waxed on, and he melted through the other guy with his boiling heat hands.
Yes. Yeah. And that is how
memes.
we're going to single-handedly save Texas.
With boiling heat hands.
Boiling heat hands. Absolutely. Okay. This is Governor Greg Abbott.
So this shows how the Green New Deal would be a deadly deal for the United States of America. Texas is blessed with multiple sources of energy, such as natural gas and oil and nuclear, as well as solar and wind. But you saw from what Trace said, and that is our wind and our solar got shut down, and they were collectively more than 10% of our power grid. And that thrust Texas into a situation where it was lacking power on a statewide basis.
Okay. They're going to shit all over this like people on the left, like Greens, like renewable energy superfans, don't say, ha ha ha, look, Scotland is 100% wind powered. Ha ha ha. Germany, oh, Germany is 100% wind power this weekend. On a lazy weekend in the middle of summer when everyone's on vacation, yes, Germany does become 100% renewable powered. Yes, Scotland regularly becomes 100% wind powered because they have such a tiny, tiny localized grid, and they get to trade that energy. So if you're going to make those claims, you are a hypocrite when you, okay, so you're being a hypocrite, and in this case, using hypocrisy is a fallacy. I'll just be right up front about it. And that is to say that they are shitting on Greg Abbott and Ted Cruz for making the same comparisons that green renewable energy fans regularly make. So there are no innocents here. So yes, Vaush and his guest are absolutely right to call this out, but they also have to accept the charge of hypocrisy the next time they foolishly cite, oh, Scotland's 100% wind. Oh, Germany's completely clean energy this weekend.
That was power that was spread out by that ERCOT organization that you were talking about. As a result, it just shows that fossil fuel is necessary for the state of Texas as well as other states to make sure that we'll be able to heat our homes in the wintertime and cool our homes in the summertime.
I hate that man.
He's not my favorite guy. You know, I know a few.
Yeah, I really hate Greg Abbott too. The fertilizer plant explosion that I had just moved, and I just moved to Austin, and then that fertilizer plant was at 2011 or 20. No, it was 2012 or 2013. Blew up between Austin and I think it was Waco. Greg Abbott was the dude who said, "Oh, you don't need to know where the chemicals are." He's a piece of shit.
You guys, and he's not my favorite guy amongst them. Yeah.
Certainly. So yeah, that's a good example of Republican governance in action. Deregulation and of course free market capitalism.
One of the things that really bugs me about the discourse around climate change and fossil fuels is this belief that Republicans keep saying this, like America needs oil, America needs coal, America needs gas. Literally nobody is saying this elsewise, obviously.
False. Oh my God. Okay. I hope you recover from this because unless we actually build nuclear energy, and I hope we get there, and we have massive storage, and we have advanced nuclear that will let us grid follow, we're always going to need to have some amount of fossil fuels. And that's why, like, I'm so conflicted about fracked gas and gas replacing coal, is we need something for that last 5-10%. But here, okay, I'll let him continue.
You can ask anybody, even the craziest lefties online. Ask them, okay? If we just took all of America off of all fossil fuels day one, of course the country would collapse. Nobody's saying that. We're saying you invest in alternative energy, which is what Texas has done because Texas's wind farms
it's not enough.
About a quarter of the energy that it receives. So clearly,
whoa! Didn't I just say that I was going to level the charge of hypocrisy on you when you falsified those stats? Yeah, sometimes Texas is 25% wind powered. And wind and solar powered.
Investment in alternative energy begets results, and it's Texas. You know, that's the oil state, but they still did it, and that's great. That was actually, unironically, a pretty great benefit of their separation from the federal regulation. Though they could have done that with federal regulation. It's just the way things panned out. It was one of the consequences of their decision. But they always act like this, like libs trying to take away our oil. We need it for driving cars at the very least.
Yeah, I mean, nobody's saying like clean break, right? But we are saying eventual break, and we should really do something. You know, okay. I'm not one of the I had this discussion yesterday with my audience about nuclear energy. I think nuclear energy has a role to play. It is cleaner than oil and gas. It's better for the environment. Although I know Fukushima, right? That is a way to get us off of fossil fuels. We need
nuclear
while
energy.
We do need nuclear energy, right? And we also need those other alternative energies, solar and wind and geothermal, and then whatever else. I mean, I don't know if it was you or
look at the chat right now. Let's look at the chat. Hannah the Punk, thorium. Pirandism, nuclear energy. The sun never rose. Nuclear is the way. 5 Synon, nuke pill. Red matter. Nuclear power is actually the cleanest type of energy, also the safest. Curly Bree, nuclear is the only immediate solution to climate change. Well, Curly's right if they're talking about keeping, and you'll see it because I think it's under the logo. Nuclear, Curly's right if it means keeping extremely safe modern plants online as long as possible. Journey started, good comment. According to Horizon Side discussed, there is a difference of carbon life cycle. Natural gas is the backup for solar and wind. Absolutely, 100%. And what Vaush was just like perfectly demonstrated the hypocrisy that I was raging about, that they're shitting on Greg Gabbett for, falsifying the stats on renewables, but he turned right back around and said, oh yeah, wind is 25% of Texas's grid. No, it's very rarely that much. When you talk about actual energy delivered, when you're talking about capacity factor, that's power. We'll talk about units. Horizon Size is a great person to follow when it talks about physics, about units. Power is instantaneous. Energy is kilowatt hours. Power, kilowatts. When you measure let's do this. When you measure an energy generator, when you talk about its power potential, you're talking about its maximum output. So a 15 megawatt wind turbine, that's 15 megawatts at its best. What's it like that's its power. What's it like on average? That's its kilowatt hours average per year. It's going to be something like 3, 4, 5 megawatt hours per hour. Very important concept. And that illustrates what Vaush's disconnect is when it comes to the, shitting all over Greg Abbott for this comment when he's not prepared to make the same mathematical comparison. When he gets fooled by the media who misreports, and the wind and solar fanatics who think wind and solar can do everything for us, and they point, oh, it's gonna be Scotland 100% wind powered. No, sometimes 100% wind powered. Germany, rarely 100% wind and solar powered.
Or Lance from the Surfs that was talking about how, what was it, Korea or something was doing, South Korea had made a fusion reactor or had a fusion reaction for a tenth of a second or something like that.
Oh, yeah.
And it was a giant breakthrough.
Yeah, they were talking about fusion.
Tokamak or whatever. That's interesting stuff. That I think could be the future as well.
It's really
fusion energy.
It's incredible because I feel like Chernobyl and 3 Mile Island might have single-handedly fucked the planet because of all the bad optics around nuclear power. That if we had just handled 3 Mile Island, and if the fucking Soviets had appropriately handled Chernobyl, that people probably would have been completely on board with nuclear power because it is the safest form.
There it is. That's what we're here for. My friend Phil, he runs the Americans for Nuclear Energy Facebook, or a different one. But anyways, he's moderator of some Facebook groups, and he's like, hey, check it out. Great video, you got to watch it. So if that's the end of the payout, we'll be walking away pretty soon. So how's it going, chat? Let's have a powwow while I'm in the afterglow of Vaush saying nuclear is the cleanest, because not 2 months ago he totally shit all over the idea of nuclear, and we were like, oh, it's so expensive. What a lib take, isn't it? Let's see if I can get Vaush's face back up here. There we go. Hey, what a professional I am, right? Let me put that preview up and I can I can adjust this around. Whoa. There we go. Igloo, yeah. Vaush is flip, you flip a floppa, and that's okay. When you are in fact presented with new information and you feel the ability to change your mind, it's based as hell, right? Like I'm still flipping back and forth between Marxist-Leninism and Anarcho Communism. And I'm like, well, sometimes, it takes an organized party in order to get some really important things done, like nationalizing energy. And sometimes I'm like, yeah, fuck the government. Fuck the police. Get out of here. So who knows, right? I'm going to continuously update my attitude towards political positions because this is some of the most complicated things out there, and I have no way of gauging what's going to happen. Can we motivate people to better society of their own volition, or do we need to trick them and this is what I do in my day job. I design benefit systems in a video game, and I recognize that people are greedy, that people want to feel like they're getting a lot out of the system, like they feel really good about participating in the system. And so, yes, it is psychological. And I think that, bear with me, small scale capitalism does that. And if I get left canceled for this, I'm sorry, but this is the way I feel, is like sometimes greed is a powerful motivator for people. And I want to think about what it means to be a anarcho-communist or a libertarian socialist, and where my boundaries are. Like, where am I on this continuum? Am I more of a market socialist? I don't know still. Anyways, so that's me changing my mind based on new information, based on new understandings. And if Vaush is doing that for nuclear energy, hell fucking yeah. I keep switching back and forth from studio mode. There we go. Marcavius says by chain link. Oh man. You're getting trolled, aren't you? You're getting brought into the link bros, the link army, the Vanguard link party. That's okay. I love it. I'm nice. So glad to see you, Igloo BC, Marcavius, Witchy, Poo Wendy. Thanks for hanging out. Journey started. I'm going to continue on this for a minute. Let's read some chat. Igloo, great to see that. Yeah, I mean, abolishing markets, that's going to be a huge challenge. I think that some markets with the right controls are very valuable. Journey started. I want private parties to group together to set up nukes, an organization based on ideology and not politics. I have issues in politics in charge of micromanagement of individuals. I think I agree. I think that's fair, and we're always going to have to look out for that in any social system we try to create. So I don't necessarily know that it's the end all be all, but yeah, we'll see. I'm playing this game Eco. It's actually, there's some people who work up near where I live on Capitol Hill that work on this game. So it's really encouraging to see it become something. And I really like the idea of a Minecraft crossed with freaking EVE Online. And that's what this feels like. It's like EVE Online economy plus Minecraft mechanics and physics. And we'll see how this game shakes out. It's still like super early. It's still like basically just over the hump of playable. And the gameplay, there's so much potential in it, but it's fun. And I want to see them do rad stuff with it. So yeah. And this is like some of my thought experiments about motivating people with greed rather than appealing to their altruism is sort of, and I understand that's not real life. It's sort of the difference between, well, what would you do with your life if you had nothing else to do? And, it's a video game. So I realize there's limits to this thought experiment, but still it's very interesting. Journey started interesting perspective on the stock market. We'll get back to that someday.
Even if you account for all the disasters that have been caused by nuclear power plant meltdowns, it pales in comparison to the total amount of damage done by fossil fuel burning. If you count in externalities too, like lung cancer or lowered lifespans due to pollution, then we're talking exponentially more destructive than anything nuclear has ever done. The only thing that people really worry about these days, I think, or should worry about, is nuclear waste. But I feel like if the international community got together and just chose a spot somewhere, I don't fucking know. It can be in Nevada, it can be in Mongolia, I don't give a shit. Just chose a spot and built a proper bunker, because they always want to trade off responsibility for this. Like, no country, it's a...
Oh, he's about to say it. He's about to say NIMBY.
NIMBY shit.
Yeah, there it is. I was like, oh wait, I was gonna go there. Okay, yes. Let's go down this road, but what he's gonna miss is that nuclear energy, where we site it, and nuclear waste, where we put it, that must be a consent-first process. Always, 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 always.
No country wants to have the stockpile of perpetually irradiated resin.
Perpetually hazardous? Not perpetually. Wait a minute. What am I saying? Hazardous, possibly, for 300 to 130,000 years, depending on how much you fuck up your waste solution. Let's go over that really quick. Let's do it. Let's go to whataboutthewaste.com. Here it is. What about the waste? And this is the diagram we want. So, this is the lifespan of nuclear waste. You're just talking about fission products. That's that dark black line. I should have got my telestrator here, and then I could draw over this, but I would have to futz around with it too much. This dark black line, that's your fission products. That's your strontium. That's your cesium-137. That's all the really, really bad stuff. Maybe americium-241. Mostly it's going to be the stuff that's highly mobile in the food chain and has a medium length, 30-year-ish half-life. Journey started, great comment. We need to reprocess the waste. That's what this is. That's exactly what this is. If you take that stuff that lasts 130,000 years and you reprocess it, boom! All of a sudden, you have fission products in one part and you have fuel in the other part. That's how we get to 4 billion years of nuclear energy for humanity. Reprocess the waste. Have the technology to do it. Stop wasting the waste. It's only waste if you waste it. Yeah, Igloo. Secondary reactions, that's what that top line is. There is no isotope out there that has a half-life of would that be? If this is 10 half-lives, let's do the math on that. This would be 130,000 to the 10th root of 2. No. Because that's linear. That's not even... See the first one? That dark black one? That's exponential falling. Right? So first, that's the strontium cesium burnt, like half-living away. And then here, that low part, that's the americium 241 and the other fission products that are, and plutonium and stuff like that. So, so that's what those are easy equations. Those are like individualized half-lives. This long one, it's basically, except there's a log scale, but it's more or less a long fall off. If this was a half-life, it would look like the first line. It would be straight on the log scale, and then it would fall off a cliff. And I've got a lot of memes about this, but Nick Turan, who makes whatisnuclear.com, really knows his stuff and kind of set me straight on this topic. So 130,000 years it's like a candle that burns for a couple millennia. It is that uranium with a little bit of fission products in it is like the spark. And it slowly snuffs out over that 130,000 year timeline. If you reprocess it, you snuff out the candle. You take away the fission products from the fuel source. So this is what Vaush is really missing when it comes to the concept of nuclear waste. And I should have turned off my mask to show you that.
To do in their borders, you know?
Yeah. So I'm kind of having the same problem in my chat that you sometimes have in yours. Yeah. About nuclear energy. No, what was it? Somebody said, well, nuclear energy is safer than wind farms. No, we didn't say that. Neither of us believe that that's the case.
Safer than coal, though.
Hell yeah, it's safer than coal. And it's, someday wind is coming back. And actually, if we look at your world in data, it's finally happened. In the last 5 years, we finally got enough data that wind and solar have pulled ahead of nuclear. Just barely. So check that out. All our world in data, safest sources of energy. And yeah, we got hydro. And the reason that they put hydro above nuclear is because that error bar, that's because the emissions, but you know what? It might also be above nuclear when it comes to deaths because the error bar is really big. And if we scale out hydro to be an international solution for clean energy, there will be more hydro accidents. Absolutely. And the rate of accidents per hydro in some places will definitely exceed that of nuclear, and it will exceed the historical average. But yeah, wind and solar finally just dipped below nuclear.
It is absolutely safer than coal, safer than oil, safer than building pipelines all over the place that will eventually leak.
Hell yeah.
Explode sometimes and end up contaminating groundwater.
Also, it's like magic too. Uranium is literally just like a rock that emits energy.
It's a rock that was created in the heart of a dying star. This is like Marvel Avengers Endgame level epic shit. This is Thor's hammer. Epic shit. Amazing. That's where nuclear energy comes from.
It's like everything else is, you know, it's like, oh, we burned through the oil, like, oh, okay, we burned the coal, great, we turned the turbines, phenomenal. But then it's just like magic rock. It's, you know, don't touch it, but it is magic.
Don't touch it. Don't lick it.
Don't lick it.
Just
Don't lick it.
Put it in a reactor and make it work for you, you know? And then figure out, of course, nuclear waste, as you mentioned, is a big problem, but we can figure out how to do something about that. And of course, if we actually invest in technologies to actually figure out how to, you know, produce energy reactions without actually creating any waste, that would be a fantastic thing. We just have to. It feels like we just need to do some research, and we need to, you know, look into it, and we need to figure out how to do it. Because I don't know, like. Human beings, I think, are pretty smart, and we can figure things out. Human beings are smart. People are dumb. That's usually what I go by, right? People in large crowds can be very, very stupid, but people in general can be very, very smart, and they can come up with amazing solutions. The fact that we are talking, you're in, you know, California, I'm assuming, I'm in Michigan, and we can have a conversation over online.
Oh, there's his nuclear education. He's in the Midwest. Of course he knows about nuclear. He has two choices when it comes to energy sources, coal and nuclear. Yep. I mean, hopefully we will get a lot more wind in Michigan in the next decade. We better. But hopefully we also get some nuclear. Hopefully we protect the existing nuclear.
It's kind of amazing. Human ingenuity is awesome. And so we just need to tap that, and we need to foster that, and we need to allow people to come up with better solutions than what we have right now, because what we have right now is not working.
Hey, this is only a little bit off topic. Have
Sure.
you ever heard of a show called it's Dark Tourism, Dark Tourist, something like that?
Oh, he's going
I
to
don't
talk
think
about
so.
Chernobyl.
That name is not coming to mind.
It's something. Wait, chat. I don't think that's the name, but
Dark matter?
no. Wait. I Dark Tourist. It must have been Dark Tourist or Dark Tourism or something like that. But anyway, in one of the episodes, he travels to some town that was downwind of some nuclear disaster, and everything's irradiated and what have you. And and you see like the remnants of this town, and it's a wasteland now because everyone had to flee. And it's incredible because mathematically, coal, oil, gas, exponentially more destructive than that. We just don't see it. All the harm gets pumped into the atmosphere. So we don't, it's an externality. Whereas all the harm caused by nuclear is very immediate. The harm caused by nuclear is there's a meltdown, which by the way can be prevented with appropriate regulations. Every time there's a nuclear meltdown.
And the harm is largely invisible. The danger is the easiest to detect. Let's go. So, pollution, right? When we're talking about pollution, you've got the water in Flint, Michigan. You've got the smog coming out of your tailpipe of your car. These are invisible dangers. You are exposed to them before you see, you're exposed to them and you see the effects, and then you know it was there and you know to look for it, and then you discover it. With radiation, you see it right away. You hear the Geiger counter, right? You can look for it easily. The effects, you don't know. You don't know what the negative health effects of chronic low-dose radiation will be. We need trillions of data points and decades of research to actually figure out low-dose radiation. The person who came up with LNT, actual eugenicist paid by Standard Oil, paid by Rockefeller Foundation to do his work. So step back from that and look for reproduction of that data. Look for replication. Look for a new experiment that proves out LNT. And you know what we've done? EPA has looked at this. EPA has done meta studies, and EPA has said, yeah, it's inconclusive, so we're going to stick with the rules we got. LNT is still in, baby. ALARA, as low as reasonably achievable, still in. That's still our policy because, oh yeah, we haven't found definitive proof against it It's precautionary principle. It's holding the line of the established facts.
Meltdown is because something beforehand went wrong. More destructive than that. We just don't see it. All the harm gets pumped into the atmosphere. So we don't, it's an externality. Whereas all the harm caused by nuclear is very immediate. The harm caused by nuclear is there's a meltdown, which by the way can be prevented with appropriate regulations. Every time there's a nuclear meltdown, it's because something beforehand went wrong. Like preventably wrong. But anyway, it's just interesting. We don't even think about all the harm that fossil fuels do because all of it is distributed and decentralized in a way that makes it less obvious.
Also, into the ocean. I mean, the ocean has absorbed the vast majority of CO2. It could be far worse if we had, less ocean on this planet. We might be already in a scorching, burning hellhole. But thankfully, the ocean has, has its limits. And we're getting to the point where you have coral bleaching and you have ocean acidification. You have the softening of shells of, crabs and stuff like that. And that's a real problem. Now, we're approaching that limit, and we really shouldn't be putting out more, more of that carbon and methane in the atmosphere as greenhouse gases.
Though, on the other hand, the deep sea is terrifying, and our silent war of pollution and climate change against it is a moral and just cause, which will end in our victory.
Fighting the Murlocs and crab people, true.
Have you seen what goes on down there? The little
memes
crawlies down the ocean floor?
I have not, because
we will prevail.
I had the feeling it was coming back to memes.
And tires into the ocean.
Yeah, just need a few more BP oil spills, okay, and our conquest will be complete.
True. All right, you want to move on?
Sure, yeah.
All right, let's do some Republican cancel culture, which is always fun. So here's a bit of an ironic story. The party that loves to complain about cancel culture is partaking in it. So now, following the failed second impeachment of trial of Donald censure, those Senator John do it.
Sorry, I'm here we go.
It was to me, okay? But nowadays, cancel culture is any wiggles out, so.
I think that in tax entrance, and I think cancel culture in the past, then you should be uncanceled.
Yeah, I think especially since an unwillingness to drop somebody like that can lead to you being maligned by your own friend group. And at that point, you're...
Yeah, no, it's absolutely true.
This is not my content at all. I'm not going to make content based on freaking drama or cancel culture.
I tend to think that it's because he allows people to be the worst version of themselves. He encourages that because he himself.
No.
Something brown people immigration, but now finally,
like Joe Manchin that tend to get in the way of Christian cinema.
Walter was a piece of shit. At the very least, from episode 4, we turned down the...
Okay.
Yeah, so that's Ligma male. Sigma male is an actual thing, or well, people are treating it like an actual
Okay, I like this meme.
You've moved yourself out of the traditional masculine hierarchy.
It's a joke.
Okay. So you say I'm old, so you have to explain these things to me. You youngins with your internet culture.
Would you say that you are removed from the traditional... I like
that.
Yeah, I think so.
Awesome.
Sigma male's funny.
Recently, there's been a rash of anti-trans legislation being proposed all over the country. And it's going to be the America Money, Growth Act.
Or the America Funny Growth Big Economy, a supportive parent who accepts your gender.
Okay, I'm really sorry. Let me
attack them and mislabel them and misgender them and dead name them and all this horrible stuff that of course destroys the mental.
Let me go through this. I'm gonna.
It's just a really obvious.
I'm gonna turn it down for you.
Trans people commit suicide. So why 40% hit? What could possibly be leading to that? And then you have all this trans bathroom.
And I'm gonna read through it.
And the cruelty.
Scrub through it rather.
You don't have policy really.
Right, and they did it every time with the caravans in 2008.
Absolutely. So.
Yeah, let's chill for a bit while I find some good content.
So, you are.
Grandfather had hair on his way out.
I'm familiar with that quote.
If you like Vaush, you know where to find this video.
They're actually believed to be behind last year's Idaho. Now,
oh, he's got a Sphinx. Well, that's cute.
Alliance Defending Freedom.
Okay, right. Yeah, people in chat being anti-defamation league. It seems like she had gotten in 6th place if the trans women had not.
It really kind of feels like it's
corrupting and polluting, and they're actually
setting these rules. And
same thing with gay marriage too, where the children we raise by
we're making up these
conversation on the legitimacy of inherent conservatism.
No, come on.
It's not gonna come back. We're not gonna sign you on for any more shows.
Yeah. If that happened,
conservatives, I think, are dumping on conservatives. I love it, but also it's a good way to also masks anyway. At this point. All right, let's do some PS5 stuff. So if you're a video gamer like myself, that just freshly comes in and you get these too much of a difference. I mean, 30 FPS.
It's not a matter of individuals being morally bad. It's a matter of market reality.
Niche.
But people are going to call you cunts for it, like they would have called Sony cunts if they had.
For about $850.
You're doing this at a good price. People can associate with that market transaction. If that's done in a way where you're not providing,
I don't know actually.
You're receiving PS5. Rather than.
Yep, this is where they lose me. It's pretty. So yeah, let's get rid of. Is this gonna work? Nope. Back to that, and then I still have like 1 or 2 things that I need to do in order to have my setup fully automated. So let's go. How's it going, chat? It's just going to be you and me while I wind down from the Vaush unload. What'd you think of the video? Journey started to ask, are these guys woke and cancel culture? I don't know. I think that there is something to be said about Vaush being more of a quote unquote dirtbag left. I'm not sure if that's accurate, but I think he's more like using language and situations deliberately in order to shock people and get a reaction and to make a point. You know, he's essentially he's anti-politically correct in order to make a point sometimes. And it's a tactic. I mean, I'm not going to cancel him for it. I'm not going to say that he's horrible, but you know, you've got to be a little more wise than that sometimes. And I really try to be empathetic and wise when it comes to my use of language and the situations that I put in front of people. And I mean, that's literally why Vaush was not on Twitch for years, is because he said some not really good strategic things, and that got him taken down. So thank you all for hanging out. That was the payout. That was the best of it. I'm more or less happy with the coverage. I think it's good. It's good to hear nuclear in leftist discourse, and then we can have those hard conversations. Oh, I had a follow. Witch Power Wendy, thank you very much for the follow. Sorry that I missed the pop-up. I thought that I had see this border here is Stream Elements, and I thought that my pop-ups were working, but I guess they're not, or I missed it. So thank you very much for the follow, and thank you everyone else for stopping by. Anyone else in chat? We'll switch to just chatting, or you know, maybe I'll leave it at politics, and we'll just, because we don't have Rayolithica. Thanks. Yep. Yes, absolutely. Hoomstnv. Those censored underscores or something else? So Hoomst, you're absolutely right. It is that the generators were below sea level rather than above it. And I can actually go into this a bit. I have this wonderful ability to do. Journey started. Absolutely, I will stream at 720/30 or 720/60. Right now, I should be at 1080/30. So I'm sorry to hear that you've got a bandwidth constrained or CPU constrained. I'll definitely take that under advisement, and I'll think about switching down to 720/30. Maybe 60. I kind of like closer to the cinematic look. Rayolithica, absolutely right. Fukushima seawall, Fukushima Daiichi seawall, and Daini seawall were too low. The Onagawa nuclear plant was much closer. So we're going to do my favorite thing and jam onto Google Earth Pro here in a second. And we can talk about this because I have Fukushima and Onagawa bookmarked in Google Earth. So there it is. That pin right there is Onagawa nuclear plant. Very close to the epicenter of Tohoku. If we zoom in, we can see all about it. We can take a look at the buildings, and we can measure the rise above sea level. There's the ruler. Let's do a path. Show the elevation profile. And from that epicenter, There it is. Oh, I don't like which camera showing. Let me fix that. Is that right? Yeah. Yep, that is it. So there's the elevation profile, all the way up to 41 feet. Michael McAllister, absolutely. I think that Bill Gates gets a lot of credit for making a few good decisions. Oh, and I should turn off the filter on my right screen because I'm not showing anyone else's content now. So I just do that to sort of indicate, hey, this is not my content. Don't freaking sue me. And now we're off of Vaush, so we're just talking about Fukushima now. But yeah, check that out. The seawall 17 feet above sea level, and then the plant itself up at 41 feet. Now let's go to actual Fukushima. Much further away. Notice that? About twice as far away. And here it is. If I'm going to aim that arrow straight at Fukushima, that seawall doesn't even make a blip. I'm sure that's mismeasured, but let's assume that it's 12 feet, so that's 5 feet, maybe a little higher, maybe a little lower. And then it's 6 feet lower than the Onagawa plant. Yeah, seawalls rounds to 0, GG, maybe. I mean, that's the question, isn't it? It sure looks really low. It sure looks like that seawall is a joke. Just from the aerial view, definitely at that vector coming from Tohoku, the other one definitely looked better. Man, and it also has the benefit of all these islands around it, so that's got to help too. And Fukushima Daiichi just had no opportunity there. Oh, well, this one might be similar. I don't know. We can't really tell. But what I've read in the media is that it's definitely, there's a difference there. The local geography, the islands probably helped a tiny bit. And then where is Daini? There it is. There is the... Oh. Where's that at? There's 2 more ports. That looks like fossil fuels. Or is it? No, this could be a nuclear plant. Let's see what Google says. There's Fukushima number 2. No, it was the first one. That must be some other energy source. This one is Daini, Fukushima number 2. This one had the same problem, had the generators swept out, but its battery backups were more reliable, and they were able to get water pumped into it. So of... What was it? I think there's 6 at Daiichi and 4 at Daini. Of 6 reactors at Fukushima Daiichi, 3 of them melted down. And at Daini, none of them melted down. So out of 9 or 10 reactors that were vulnerable, we had 3 meltdowns. That's certainly a better success rate than gas power in Texas. So, hey Monty, how is it going? I'm just sort of chilling out and getting to the end of my stream. I covered VaushV's slightly improved take on nuclear energy. And yeah, Journey Started had a comment a little bit ago about his dinner with a nuclear specialist. He was cleaning up Chernobyl still in 2011 to 2015, something like that. He must have been working on the containment dome. That. Do I have that here? I need to put a pin in Chernobyl. That's the city. Where's the plant? Here's Pripyat. Where's the... There it is. There's the dome. The famous towers, and there's going to be a tomb. Yeah, the sarcophagus. So they constructed this thing, and it like moved on rails over the top of this. You know, it just went. Let's do this. It went right over the top. Having fun with my cameras. This is my reading view camera, so I can get really close and I can bend it down and look at my desk and whatever I'm doing. So a little playing around while I wrap up my stream. So I hope you all have had a great time. I'm certainly glad to have talked to you. And I have done, let's see, what was it? At least 30 minutes, if not more. Time flies when you're having fun. Thank you all for stopping by. Oh, another good comment. Michael McAllister, absolutely right. The federal government does spend billions of dollars on all sorts of products, on all sorts of social goods. Now, when it comes to things like healthcare, energy, these absolutely are important. They're vital. They're the things we need to decommodify. And so when the government uses its municipal lending in order to borrow a huge amount of money and make a social good with it, that's a benefit. You're not going to want private lending rates to build these plants. You're not going to build a bridge with a credit card. And that's the difference between a gas plant, which is where the private money is going, because gas plants turn around like that. Rylithica, quick question, off topic. What do you think Gates is going to do with the farmland? So Bill Gates invested in a large amount of farmland. I would guess that it may be a Gates Foundation initiative when it comes to carbon sequestration and land use changes. And so what that means is he is going to, or his foundation is possibly, and this is, I don't actually have information on this, but this is my best guess, or what I would do with it, because I'm a smart guy, right? So what I would do with it is I would select land use strategies and technologies which sequester additional carbon into the farmland. I'm going to protect that farmland from being developed into subdivisions, and I'm going to make sure that it stays farmland, and I'm going to make sure that it becomes a carbon sink instead of a carbon source. That's the absolute best thing that I think he should do with the farmland that the Gates Foundation or whichever of his divisions has invested in this farmland. So I think that is just about going to be it. So I'm going to say hello to you from camera 3, and we're going to go out with our media transition. And I'm going to kick up the music. So thank you all very much. So much. Oh my goodness. The chat is coming in. It's time to switch to just chatting. It's all right. Let's get these done. Journey started once markets. I understand. We can have our disagreements. We'll go into those later. 250,000 acres of farmland is the only way to contain the Xbox 2. It's enormous. Giant Xbox. Agroforestry. Yeah. We need to replant a lot of trees. So, all right. Seriously, you've got enough questions out of me, enough answers. You've given me enough questions. You've got enough answers out of me. Thank you so much, and I'll see you later.